Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are tackling a massive topic, the 3 generations of governance. Honestly, if you've ever felt like managing cloud permissions is just this endless, totally overwhelming puzzle where fixing one single thing accidentally breaks 3 others, well, you are going to love what we're covering today. We're looking at a huge structural evolution in how we actually secure our infrastructure. We are moving away from brittle, static rules and stepping right into this new era of intelligent contextual reasoning. It's a journey that literally redefines cloud security from the ground up.
To really understand the solution here, we first have to talk about the immense, everyday pain security engineers feel when they're just trying to figure out exactly who has access to what. So ask yourself this, and be brutally honest. How long does it actually take a human to trace just a single cloud permission in a modern enterprise? Seriously, think about your own environment for a second.
For a lot of us, the answer is hours, sometimes days. And why? Because permissions in the cloud are hierarchical, they're inherited, and they go cross-account. A single access decision can involve 9 overlapping layers. You've got everything from the IAM role and session policy at the top, basically fighting with the KMS key policy and organization policy at the bottom. It's literally like trying to untangle 100 different sets of Christmas lights while blindfolded. A change in one layer might get completely overridden by a service control policy sitting quietly somewhere else. Trying to untangle all this manually? It just turns into an absolute nightmare of alert fatigue and wasted engineering hours.
So here's our game plan to unpack the path out of this chaos. We'll hit the 3 governance generations, look at the cloud complexity problem, talk about building identity knowledge graphs, move from alerts to predictive CSPM, and end with the agentic governance future. Let's get into it. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the 3 governance generations. Let's start with the chronological evolution that brings us to where we are headed today.
We can break this whole evolution down into 3 distinct generations. Generation 1, that was entirely manual. We're talking human reviews, spreadsheets, and sheer willpower. Slow, error-prone, completely impossible to scale. To fix that, we evolved to Generation 2, which gave us policy as code. This brought deterministic, hard-coded rules, like an automatic deny for any public S3 bucket. Great for scale, sure, but completely blind to nuance. And now, we are entering Generation 3, policy as intelligence. This is where AI brings deep context to the party. Instead of just seeing a public bucket and throwing an alert, Gen 3 reasons that, hey, the bucket is public, it contains customer data, and it's actually been targeted recently. So it recommends immediate quarantine.
Policy as intelligence is a massive foundational shift. We're moving from static rule evaluation to context-aware, adaptive decision-making. But here's the absolute crucial point you need to take away. AI isn't replacing your code. Instead, it acts as an intelligence layer sitting right above your policy as code. It interprets, correlates, and recommends based on massive amounts of environmental data. Think of it as the brain sitting on top of the brawn. Generation 2 still does the heavy lifting, for sure, but Generation 3 tells it exactly where to lift.
Moving right along to Section 2, the cloud complexity problem. Let's see how this Gen 3 paradigm tackles the incredibly messy reality of modern cloud infrastructure.
Instead of just asking a binary question, like, does this configuration violate a rule, which, let's face it, is the absolute limit of Generation 2, Generation 3 completely reframes the entire conversation. It asks, given everything we know about identities, infrastructure, behavior, and the actual business context, what is the safest and most appropriate action? It pulls us out of rigid compliance checks and into deeply nuanced safety protocols. Just think about the stark contrast between traditional IAM and this new approach. Traditional systems rely on periodic reviews, isolated policies, and these really rigid binary allow or deny decisions. It's essentially a stopwatch and a padlock. But AI-driven IAM, that provides continuous 24/7 optimization. It's a brain that understands complex relationships and makes nuanced, risk-based access decisions on the fly. It's a living, breathing system, not just a static wall. So how does it actually do that? That brings us to Section 3, building identity knowledge graphs. To achieve continuous optimization, the AI needs a totally new way to see your infrastructure. Instead of reading isolated policies line by line, the AI builds an identity knowledge graph. Think of it as a multi-dimensional map of your entire cloud environment. It's simultaneously evaluating identity risk, resource sensitivity, behavior, time, location, and historical patterns. By mapping out this vast web of relationships, rather than just checking single rules in a vacuum, the AI effectively compresses what would take a human hours of whiteboard reasoning into literal milliseconds. It understands the connections, not just the isolated components.
Now let's see this in action. Section 4. From alerts to predictive CSPM. Let's look at how this knowledge graph transforms cloud security posture management. We all know traditional CSPM produces thousands of independent findings. If you've lived through it, you know it's like standing in a storm of red alerts that eventually just turn into white noise. It leads to massive alert fatigue. AI CSPM takes a fundamentally different approach. Instead of hitting you with 5 independent, disconnected alerts, it strings those weak signals together to show you the actual cohesive attack path. It connects the dots. It gives you the story of how an attacker might move through your system rather than just blasting you with isolated symptoms. And this is the true hallmark of the third generation, shifting from a fundamentally reactive posture to a truly predictive one. Because the AI deeply understands the context of your environment through that knowledge graph we talked about, violations can be caught and prevented before they ever reach deployment. You are stopping the risk right at the developer's desk, catching the architectural flaw before it ever becomes a reality in production. Because honestly, context changes absolutely everything. Imagine 2 identically misconfigured public buckets. In scenario A, the bucket only contains development data. The AI knows this, realizes the risk is low, and simply logs the event without waking up your engineers at 2 a.m. But in scenario B, the exact same rule is broken, but this time the bucket holds customer data and has been targeted by anomalous IPs. The AI instantly quarantines it. Same broken rule, 2 completely different context-driven outcomes. That is the power of Generation 3 reasoning. Okay, let's look under the hood. Section 5, the agentic governance future. Let's explore the actual architecture of this Generation 3 end state.
We aren't looking at one giant monolithic AI making all the decisions, which, frankly, is a recipe for hallucinations and catastrophic errors. No way. Instead, it's an ecosystem of highly specialized, collaborating agents. You have an AIM agent exclusively analyzing privileges, a CSPM agent looking at attack paths, a FinOps agent checking costs, and a compliance agent mapping controls. Then, a coordinator agent synthesizes all their outputs to give you unified, non-conflicting governance recommendations. It's literally a team of experts working together.
Let's look at the actual pipeline. When an engineer requests a change, the AI generates the policies, like your IAM or Terraform, and provides the required evidence. But notice the crucial failsafe at step 4. This is exactly how you build trust with security teams. It proves that the AI's recommendations do not just blindly execute. They must still pass through your existing deterministic controls. The final say always relies on your hard-coded guardrails, guaranteeing full explainability and auditability for the enterprise. Ultimately, your enterprise moves toward this layered architecture. The deterministic policy engines of Generation 2, they don't disappear. They remain as your foundational, unshakable guardrails. But they get supercharged by Generation 3, where knowledge graphs provide deep context and AI agents act as the intelligent reasoning layer, while automation platforms handle the execution and audit logs. It is the perfect, safe synthesis of human-defined rules and artificial intelligence. We're really elevating our entire security paradigm here. The core shift is moving away from the endless, soul-crushing task of managing granular permissions and chasing isolated misconfigurations, and moving toward intelligently managing overall business risk. We're leveraging intelligence to deeply understand environmental risk. It's about finally stepping back and seeing the entire forest, rather than spending all day inspecting every single leaf. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Is your cloud governance enforcing static, brittle rules, or is it continuously adapting to environmental risk? Take a look at your current infrastructure. Are you stuck in the manual grind of Generation 1, or maybe limited by the rigid rules of Generation 2? And most importantly, what will it take for your team to unlock the contextual intelligence of the third generation? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. See you next time.